Brielle woke up with every muscle in her body aching. Her head throbbed, spinning with dizziness as her senses slowly returned. Darkness surrounded her, but it wasn't just the blindness. This time it was deeper, colder, and suffocating. She couldn't move. Her hands and legs were tightly bound, the coarse ropes biting into her skin. She sat slumped on a hard, cold floor. Her throat was dry, lips cracked, and her back pressed against what felt like a cement wall. Panic slowly crawled up her chest. She tried to recall what happened, but all she remembered was being in the Carter estate courtyard. The cool breeze, and then 2 pairs of hands grabbing her from behind, a cloth over her face, and blackness. Now she was here, wherever here was. Her heightened senses picked up faint details, nearby voices of men talking in hushed tones, the damp smell of dirt and rust, old metal and decay. The air was still, heavy. Her instincts told her they were in an abandoned warehouse, far from help, far from hope. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She didn't know who she had offended. She didn't know if she would survive. Her heart pounded like a drum inside her chest as she tried to wriggle her wrists free, but the ropes held tight. Her breathing was shallow, shaky. Suddenly, a voice pierced the silence. "Well, look who's awake. Sleeping Beauty's finally up." It was male, cold, mocking. Brielle's stomach twisted in fear. Footsteps approached her slowly. Each thud on the floor sent chills through her body. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Another chuckle, a second man now. "You'll find out soon enough. But first we're gonna have a little fun. It's not every day we get to play with the Carter family's new princess." Brielle's lips trembled. "Julian, Grandma. Someone, please, help me." She tried not to cry, she tried not to scream, but deep inside, something told her this was just the beginning. And time was running out. That evening, Julian returned home after a grueling day of endless conference meetings and phone calls. Exhausted, he collapsed onto the edge of his lavish king-sized bed, hoping for a moment's peace. But rest was far from him. His mind wouldn't stop racing toward thoughts of Brielle. Julian had tried to push her away, to forbid himself from caring. But it was useless fighting. He succumbed. That evening, he made up his mind to talk to her, to apologize for lashing out at her in the courtyard. He needed to fix it. Throwing on a t-shirt and a pair of slacks, Julian left his room and walked down the grand hallway to Brielle's door. As he stood before it, nerves crawled up his spine. What would he even say? Should he just turn back? He had to be a man about this. Slowly he knocked, hoping to hear her soft voice. Nothing. He knocked again, a bit harder. Silence. Frowning, Julian opened the door and stepped inside. Everything was neatly arranged. The bed was made, her button phone sat on the bedside table, her radio and earpiece lay on the sheets. But no Brielle. His heart began to pound. Julian searched the entire mansion, the great room, the courtyard, the maid's quarters, but she was nowhere to be found. "Where could she have gone by this time?" he muttered, growing more frantic. "She's blind. She doesn't know anyone here." Finally, he summoned the head maid. The woman bowed nervously. "Master Julian, I don't know where she went, but she left this evening, shortly before you returned. An SUV came to pick her up. She said she needed some fresh air. A young man drove the SUV and they both left. I couldn't stop her. She's your fiancé after all." Julian's blood ran cold. "She left," he repeated, rage flashing across his face. Jealousy clouded his mind. Who was the man? How dare she follow another man? Without another word, he stormed into his room, snatched his phone off the desk, and dialed a number. "Malcolm," he barked when the line connected. "My fiancée is missing. I heard she left with some lowlife. I want you to find her and bring her back to me. She's mine. If you find her, call me immediately. I want to see the fool who dared to touch what's mine." That night, Julian couldn't sleep. Regret gnawed at him alongside the jealousy. He shouldn't have pushed her away, he thought, staring blankly at the ceiling, and now he didn't even know if he'd get another chance to make things right. Back at the abandoned warehouse, Brielle's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She could hear the cruel laughter of the men around her. "Let's have some fun with her," one of them said, his voice low and disgusting. She's blind and useless anyway. Brielle's stomach twisted in fear. She heard their heavy boots crunching on the gravel floor as they approached her. I bet she's still a virgin, another sneered, running a filthy hand through her hair, making her stomach turn. Brielle whimpered, trying to shrink away from them. Please, please don't hurt me, she begged, her voice trembling. One of them shushed her roughly, tightening their grip. They started to untie her legs when suddenly, a deep, commanding voice sliced through the air. What the hell do you think you're doing? The men froze instantly. It was their boss, the leader of the gang. He stormed over, his face thunderous with rage. Were you about to hurt her? Have you lost your damn minds? No, boss. We were just joking, one stammered. If anyone lays a finger on her, the boss growled, I'll make sure you never use that hand again. The men scrambled away from Brielle like scared rats. Brielle slumped against the cold wall, gasping for breath, relief flooding through her aching body. The boss knelt beside her. You okay? Did they hurt you? He asked, his voice rough but not cruel. Brielle shook her head quickly, too scared to speak. Get her a chair, he barked at his men, and get her food and water, now. In moments they untied her wrists and ankles slightly, just enough to let her breathe and move a little, but not enough to escape. A battered chair was shoved behind her, and someone placed a bottle of water and a plate of food on the floor near her feet. Brielle didn't touch it. She didn't trust them enough to eat anything they gave her. As the boss stood nearby, she found the courage to whisper, Why did you stop them? There was a pause. I have a sister, he said gruffly. She's blind too. If any man ever touched her like that, his fists clenched. I won't allow it. I might have been paid to kidnap you, but no one harms you. Not on my watch. Brielle sat frozen, absorbing his words. Maybe there was still a small shred of humanity, even among monsters. Back at the Carter Corporation headquarters, Julian stood by his office window, staring blankly at the Manhattan skyline. Frustration and guilt gnawed at him. It had been 2 days, 2 long, torturous days, without a single word from Brielle. His security team had found nothing. It was as if she had simply disappeared into thin air. He had pushed her away. He had said cruel words he didn't mean. Now she was gone, and the thought of losing her clawed at his heart relentlessly. A knock at the door pulled him out of his tormented thoughts. Come in, he growled. Trevor, his personal assistant, entered cautiously with the iPad containing Julian's packed schedule. Sir, you have a 2 p.m. meeting with the telecommunications executives. Cancel it, Julian said coldly, not turning around. Trevor hesitated. But sir, it's critical. Julian turned, his face thunderous. I said cancel it, Trevor. And if you can't follow simple orders, I'll find someone else who can. Trevor nodded stiffly and left quickly. Julian closed his eyes, breathing heavily. Where are you, Brielle? Meanwhile, across Manhattan, Mr. Williams sat inside a quiet cafe, his face lined with worry. Across the table from him sat a sharply dressed private investigator, sliding a thick manila envelope toward him. Inside were photographs, young Brielle at around 9 years old, standing outside a foster home, clutching a small bag. There were also adoption documents. Thomas and Janice Walker had officially adopted her 15 years ago. Mr. Williams's hands trembled as he stared at the photos. It was her. It was Dudu, his precious granddaughter. But how had she ended up blind? How had she ended up in the Walker family? He needed answers, and he needed them fast. There's only one way to be sure, Mr. Williams muttered under his breath, his eyes fierce. A DNA test. That evening, Mr. Williams drove straight to the Carter estate, his heart pounding. He stormed inside, startling the chief butler. Where is Brielle? He barked. The butler bowed slightly. Sir, Miss Brielle has been missing for 2 days. Mr. Williams' eyes widened. What? Yes, sir, the butler stammered. The head maid said she left with a man in a black SUV. We tried to trace her, but there's nothing on the security footage. It's like she vanished. Mr. Williams' face darkened in fury. What kind of security is this? How does someone vanish from under your nose? I'm sorry, sir, the butler whispered. Mr. Williams' heart twisted painfully. Something was wrong. Something was terribly wrong. Without another word, he stormed out of the estate and drove straight to his mansion in Manhattan. He climbed the stairs 2 at a time, heading straight into a room he had left untouched for 15 years, Dudu's old bedroom. Everything was still the same. The pink curtains, the stuffed animals, the framed photos on the dresser. He picked up a photo, a picture of little Dudu smiling wide, and compared it to the recent photo the private investigator had given him. They were the same person. Tears stung his eyes. "If Brielle is truly Dudu," he whispered fiercely, "then I'm breaking this damn engagement. Julian Carter is not fit to have her." He picked up his phone and called Victoria Carter immediately. "Victoria," he said the moment she answered, "Brielle's missing. Something's wrong, very wrong." "What?" Victoria gasped. "How?" "We don't know yet. She vanished. No security footage, no trace." "I'll make some calls immediately," Victoria said, her voice urgent. "I'll be back in 3 days. Put your men out too. Nothing must happen to that girl." "I'll tear this city apart if I have to," Mr. Williams vowed, and he meant every word. Brielle was jolted awake from a short, restless sleep by the sound of harsh conversation nearby. Her body was sore, weak and trembling. She couldn't see her surroundings, but she could hear everything. The rough voices of her captors filled the air, along with a new voice, a woman's voice, sharp and furious. "You need to get rid of her quickly," the woman snapped. "They've sent out a search party looking for her. I don't want this blowing back on us." The gang leader's voice answered lazily, "Okay, miss. How you want us to do it?" "I don't care," the woman spat. "Sell her off, throw her into the ocean. I don't care. Just make sure she's out of Julian's life forever." Brielle's heart pounded. Fear gripped her as tears streamed down her cheeks. Who was this woman? What had she ever done to deserve such hatred? Then the clicking of high heels echoed closer. Brielle felt the woman's presence loom in front of her, thick with venom. "You pathetic lowlife," the woman hissed. "All this could have been avoided if you stayed in Harlem where you belong." "What? You thought you could just waltz in and steal my man? I've been with Julian for years. Gave him everything. And then that old witch Victoria made him break up with me. Because of you." Brielle shivered, her throat dry. She didn't know who this woman was, but desperation pushed her to beg. "Please, Mum, don't hurt me. I promise I won't bother you or him again. Please." The woman only laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "I can't risk it," she sneered. "I saw how Julian looked at you at that banquet. He has feelings for you, and I will not allow that." Without another word, the woman turned sharply on her heels and barked to the men, "Make sure the job is done. I'll send your balance by 6. Moments later, rough hands grabbed Brielle. They shoved her into a vehicle and drove for what felt like hours. Exhausted, terrified, her mind clouded with fear, Brielle could barely hold herself upright. Finally, the car screeched to a halt. The men dragged her out roughly, tossed her onto the cold, hard pavement, and zoomed off into the night without a backward glance. Brielle lay there, bruised and battered on a lonely, deserted street. With the last shred of strength left in her frail body, she cried out into the darkness, "Please, help me. Someone. Please." Minutes passed. Then an elderly woman appeared, hobbling toward her with concern written all over her face. "Child, what are you doing out here?" she asked, kneeling beside Brielle. "This road is no place for anyone, let alone a young girl like you." "I was kidnapped," Brielle whispered weakly. "Please, help me call someone, please." She rattled off a number she had memorized, Mr. Williams' number, her only hope. The old woman dialed it immediately. Meanwhile, Mr. Williams sat alone in his study, sick with worry, staring at the phone like he could will it to ring. When it did, he snatched it up on the first ring. "Hello?" he barked urgently. "Sir," the old woman's voice came through, "there's a girl here, says her name is Brielle. She needs help, bad. Put her on the phone, please," Williams cried. Brielle's faint voice came on the line. "Uncle Williams, please. Save me." Then silence. "Brielle. Brielle, answer me," he shouted, panic crashing through him. The old woman came back on. "Sir, she fainted. I think she's in bad shape. Should I call 911? "No," Mr. Williams shouted. "Stay with her. I'm coming now. Don't let her out of your sight. I'll reward you with anything you want. Just stay with her." The woman quickly described their location. Without wasting a second, Mr. Williams barked into his house intercom, "Patrick, get the helicopter ready immediately. We're going to get my granddaughter." In less than an hour, Mr. Williams had reached the slums where Brielle had been left. He found her lying unconscious under the old woman's careful watch. He swept her into his arms like she was made of glass and rushed her straight to the best hospital in Manhattan, ordering the staff to place her in the presidential suite and give her every possible care. Money was no object. The doctors informed him she was severely dehydrated and exhausted, but would recover fully with rest. Mr. Williams sat by her bedside, heartbroken beyond words. He gently brushed a lock of her hair from her forehead and whispered brokenly, "I'm sorry, Dudu. Grandpa failed you. But I'll make it right. I'll lay the world at your feet now, my baby. I love you so much." While Brielle rested, Mr. Williams discreetly requested a DNA test, using a lock of Brielle's hair and his own. Hours later, the doctor returned with the results, a match. Brielle Walker was indeed Dudu Williams, his lost granddaughter. Tears flowed freely down Mr. Williams's cheeks. It was the happiest and saddest moment of his life. Later that night, Victoria called from Los Angeles. "You found her?" she demanded anxiously. "Yes," Mr. Williams said, his voice thick with emotion. "She's safe now. I'll explain everything when you return." He didn't yet tell Victoria the deeper truth. Not yet. Hours later, the hospital room door burst open. Julian stormed in, breathless, eyes wild. Victoria had called him earlier, reprimanding him harshly. "I leave for a few days and your fiancé disappears. I thought I raised you better than this, Julian. How can you run a company if you can't protect the woman you love?" Julian had nothing to say in his defense. He had failed Brielle miserably. Now, standing in the doorway, Julian spotted Mr. Williams sitting beside Brielle's hospital bed, holding her hand protectively. "Uncle Williams," Julian began. The older man stood up sharply, fury flashing in his eyes. "What are you doing here?" Mr. Williams snapped. I came to see Brielle," Julian said, his voice thick. "You've seen her. Now leave," Mr. Williams barked. "But Uncle—" "Get out," Mr. Williams roared, his voice echoing through the hospital room. "You're irresponsible. You don't deserve her." Julian stood frozen for a second, the weight of his guilt crashing down on him. Without another word, he turned and walked out, his shoulders heavy with shame. Inside the room, Mr. Williams sat back down, brushing his fingers lightly over Brielle's hand. "You're safe now, my little one," he whispered. "Nothing and no one will ever hurt you again. I promise." It had been 2 long days since Mr. Williams rescued Brielle, yet she still hadn't woken up. He sat by her bedside, worry etched deep into his face. The monitors beeped steadily, but her stillness unsettled him. "Doctor, are you sure she's okay?" Williams asked, his voice tight with emotion. "She hasn't moved." The doctor offered a reassuring smile. "She's perfectly fine, sir. Her body is recovering from the trauma and exhaustion. She'll wake up when she's ready." But Williams wasn't comforted. He refused to leave her side. He cancelled every business meeting, ignored every urgent call, and had his assistant bring important documents and essentials to the hospital. His life had come to a halt. Nothing mattered except the girl lying unconscious before him. That afternoon, Victoria arrived at the hospital. She entered the ward quietly and found Williams sitting rigidly by Brielle's side, his hand gently resting on hers. "Hey, Williams," she said softly, her face filled with concern. "How's she doing?" Williams looked up, dark circles under his eyes. "Hey, Vicky, the doctor says she's okay, but she hasn't woken up yet." Victoria's sharp eyes didn't miss the way Williams looked at Brielle, as if she was a treasure he had lost and finally found again. She placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Come, let's get some coffee. You need a break." Reluctantly, Williams followed her out to the hospital corridor. They grabbed cups from the vending machine and sat on a bench, the hospital walls humming with quiet activity around them. Victoria turned to him, her voice low and gentle. "Williams, we've known each other for years. Something's going on. What is it?" Williams stared at his coffee cup for a long moment, then finally spoke, his voice trembling with emotion. "I found her, Vicky. I found my Dudu. Brielle is Dudu." Victoria froze, her eyes wide. "What?" she whispered. Williams nodded, tears brimming in his eyes. "From the moment I saw her at the banquet, I felt it. I couldn't explain it. It was like my heart knew. I hired a private investigator, found pictures from when she was young. I even did a DNA test. It matched. She's my little girl, Vicky, my doo-doo. Tears slid down Victoria's cheeks too. She quickly wiped them away, trying to stay composed. "Oh, Williams," she whispered, gripping his hand tightly. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't want to raise false hopes," Williams said, his voice cracking. "You know how many times I thought I found her before, and it crushed me each time." Victoria nodded, understanding the depth of his pain. Williams stared off into the distance, his jaw tightening. "I'm disappointed in Julian. I trusted him. But he let her slip away. He let her suffer. After she wakes up, I'm breaking off the engagement. I won't let him hurt her again." Victoria sighed heavily. She couldn't deny that Julian had failed, but she also knew that love wasn't always clean and simple. "Let's wait until Brielle wakes up, Williams," she said gently. "Let her decide what she wants. She deserves that choice." Williams didn't respond. His heart was already made up. That evening, Victoria returned to the Carter estate, her mind heavy. She sat in her study, staring out at the sprawling gardens. Rage bubbled beneath her composed exterior. How could Brielle have been kidnapped right under their noses? How could the security system have failed? Determined to get answers, Victoria opened her laptop and logged into a special backup system that stored all the estate's surveillance footage, even the footage erased from the main servers. She called the head of security, and together they combed through the footage minute by minute. What they found made Victoria's blood boil. She saw how Brielle was mistreated by the maids, the cruel sneers, the deliberate tripping, the mockery behind her back. She saw Chanel, Julian's ex-girlfriend, hand over a fat envelope of cash to the headmaid. She saw the headmaid allow a strange black SUV through the mansion's gates, drugging the chief butler to cover their tracks. Victoria snapped her laptop shut with a bang. Without hesitation, she picked up her phone and called a senior contact at the NYPD. "Yes, send officers to my home immediately," she ordered. "Bring enough vans. I'm sending a few traitors to jail." That night, the police raided the Carter mansion. The maids who mistreated Brielle were immediately fired. The headmaid was arrested for conspiracy, aiding a kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. As the officers dragged her away screaming, Victoria watched from the grand stairwell, her expression like stone. "No one," she murmured to herself, "hurts my granddaughter and walks away free." Meanwhile, back at the hospital, a miracle happened. Brielle stirred. The beeping of machines grew louder in her ears. The sterile scent of the hospital filled her nose. Slowly, she opened her eyes. "Princess," Williams cried out in relief, rushing to her side. "You're awake. Thank God." Brielle tried to sit up, but Williams gently stopped her. "Don't move too much. You're safe now, Dudu. Grandpa is here. Everything's okay." Brielle froze, confusion clouding her face. "Dudu," she repeated, the name stirring long-forgotten memories. Williams nodded, his voice shaking. "Yes, Dudu, it's me, Grandpa. I found you, sweetheart. I've been looking for you all these years." Tears welled in Brielle's eyes. "But how? How are you sure it's me?" Williams smiled through his own tears. "I had a DNA test done. It matched. From the moment I saw you at the banquet, I just knew." Brielle's chest tightened. The floodgates of memory opened. The faint images of a happy home, her mother's warm laughter, her father's strong arms, the nickname Dudu whispered lovingly into her ears. Williams leaned closer, his eyes shining. "Do you still have the moon-shaped pendant I gave you on your 5th birthday?" Brielle's breath caught. "Yes," she whispered. "It's on my bedside table, at the mansion." Williams laughed gently, wiping her tears with his thumb. "That's all the confirmation I needed, my princess." Brielle reached out and hugged him tightly, sobbing into his chest. For the first time in her life, she felt safe, truly safe. "I'm so sorry, Dudu," Williams whispered, holding her tightly. "I failed you once. I won't fail you again. I'll lay the world at your feet." And in that moment, both knew. Nothing would ever separate them again. Brielle was discharged from the hospital a few days later, and Grandpa Williams took her straight to his grand mansion in Manhattan. He personally sent his driver to the Carter estate to collect Brielle's belongings. Victoria was heartbroken to see Brielle leave her house, but she didn't argue. After everything, the cruelty from the maids, the betrayal, the loneliness, even Julian's cold treatment, Victoria knew Brielle deserved a fresh start. And right now, Williams was furious with Julian. The engagement seemed to hang by a thread. For the next few days, Grandpa Williams never let Brielle out of his sight. He cancelled all his business meetings and moved his work home just so he could watch over his little princess. The mansion bustled as the domestic staff prepared only the finest meals to help her recover, and Williams made sure she wanted for nothing. Meanwhile, Julian was falling apart. He hadn't slept properly in days, dark circles hung under his eyes, and he was irritable, constantly snapping at his staff and losing focus at work. He hadn't even gotten a chance to properly apologize to Brielle. Grandpa Williams kicked him out every time he tried to visit. Julian knew he deserved it. He had failed her. He had hurt her, and now he might lose her forever. Meanwhile, Williams spent sleepless nights researching, talking to specialists, hoping to find a miracle for Brielle's blindness. After countless consultations and endless phone calls, one evening the call finally came. "Mr. Williams, I found something," Dr. Parker, his trusted physician, said excitedly. "There's a hospital in Turkey. I sent them Brielle's charts, and after reviewing everything, they believe surgery could restore her sight." Williams could hardly breathe from the happiness that flooded him. He rushed to Brielle's room like a boy with a secret treasure. He knocked softly and walked in. "Princess, I have good news," he said, his face bright with excitement. "There's a hospital in Turkey. They can help you get your sight back." Brielle smiled, but Williams caught the flicker of sadness in her eyes. He pulled a chair close and took her hands gently into his. "Princess, what's wrong? Aren't you happy?" Brielle lowered her head. "I am, Grandpa. I'm just tired. A lot has happened. Talk to me, baby. Is someone upsetting you?" Brielle hesitated, then whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. "I miss him, Grandpa. I miss Julian. I thought he would come to see me." William's heart squeezed painfully. "Oh, my poor princess," he said gently. "I didn't know you were waiting for him. He has been trying to come. I kept him away. I was angry at him for hurting you." Brielle said nothing, but the sadness in her expression spoke volumes. Williams could see it clear as day. She loved Julian. Later that evening, Williams called Victoria and asked her to bring Julian over. They needed to settle things. It was time to heal. The next day, Victoria arrived with Julian trailing behind her, looking nothing like the proud CEO he used to be. His suit hung loosely on him. His face was pale, and dark circles bruised his eyes. Williams ushered them into his grand living room. "Brielle, my darling," he began warmly. "Julian is here. I invited him so you both can talk about your engagement and your future. Whatever decision you make, I'm with you, my princess." Williams led Victoria away, giving the young couple privacy. As soon as they were alone, Julian rushed forward, falling to his knees before Brielle, his arms wrapping around her tightly. "I'm sorry," he whispered through broken tears. "I'm so sorry for everything, for the terrible things I said to you, for pushing you away. I didn't mean any of it, Brielle. You mean the world to me." Brielle, overwhelmed, reached out her hands and traced Julian's face with trembling fingers. She smiled through her own tears. "I always wanted to touch your face," she said softly, "even when I thought you didn't love me. I kept thinking about you, when I was kidnapped, when I was alone in the hospital, when I moved in with Grandpa Williams." "I love you, Brielle," Julian choked out. "I was a fool to push you away. If you'll still have me, I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Please, don't leave me." Tears rolled down Brielle's cheeks as she whispered back, "I'm not leaving, Julian. I'm here." Their lips met in a gentle, emotional kiss, raw, healing, and full of promises unspoken. Meanwhile, in the study, Victoria updated Williams. "The head maid has been charged. She's looking at 5 years in prison for her role in Brielle's kidnapping, and Chanel has been arrested too. She's facing life for masterminding the whole plan." "Good," Williams growled. "Let them rot. No one hurts my princess and walks away free." Later that day, Brielle and Julian informed Williams and Victoria they wanted to continue their engagement. Victoria's face lit up in relief and joy. Weeks later, Brielle was flown to Turkey for her surgery, with Julian by her side every step of the way. They checked into a luxury VIP ward. The surgery was long and delicate, but when the doctor came out smiling, Julian knew hope had returned. The surgery was successful, the doctor announced. Julian stayed with Brielle, nursing her back to strength, feeding her, comforting her, laughing with her, and with every passing day their bond deepened. 3 weeks later, the bandages were removed. Brielle blinked against the soft lights, and the first face she saw was Julian's. Handsome, strong, smiling, and completely hers. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined," Brielle whispered with a shaky laugh. "And you're everything I ever wanted," Julian said, kissing her forehead softly. They returned to New York just in time for their wedding. The ceremony took place in Grandpa William's beautiful courtyard, surrounded by white roses and fairy lights. It was a small, intimate wedding filled with love and healing. Brielle invited her adopted parents. She had already paid off their debts and helped rebuild their business as a way of thanking them for raising her. On that beautiful evening, Brielle and Julian said their vows through smiles and tears, surrounded by their loved ones. That night, Brielle gave herself to her husband for the first time, joyfully, lovingly. "I'll be gentle," Julian whispered against her skin as he kissed her deeply. And under the soft glow of the moon, they became one. At last, their journey through darkness had led them to the light. Together. Hi friends, what do you think of this story? Who was your favorite character in this story? Let me know in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so by now. See you in my next one.